buildinggreenwichct.com.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think we're going.
Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Lindsay. This is Building Greenwich, here with my co-host, Scott Elwell. What's up, Scott?
Hi, guys.
And today we are sitting with Anshu.
Vidyarthi.
You can say that into the mic.
Vidyarthi.
I love that.
Why do you think I didn't want to start this?
I
don't want to be offensive.
I have gotten everyone's last name wrong, to be honest. The way you pronounce it, the way it's spelled. Well, welcome, Anshu. We're so pumped to have you here. Apparently, I say excited every single time, so I'm seeking out other words.
We're looking for synonyms.
For excited. We're gonna have a list.
Yeah, in your restaurant when you write, complimentary stuff, you're thrilled, excited, whatever.
Synonym for excited. Over the moon. I don't know.
Over the moon. We are over the moon to have Anshu here today. Anshu is the owner of, if you are local, you know all of his restaurants: Le Fat Poodle, Le Penguin, Siren RestoBar in Old Greenwich that just opened, soon to be open Juju in Old Greenwich, and in the future of 2024,
2025 actually,
2025, Siren in Portchester, which everyone's excited about the reopening of that area of Portchester with good food, good energy. So welcome to Building Greenwich.
Thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you here. There's so much that we want to dive into. First, when did you come to Greenwich? How did it all start for you? Give us a little backstory, please.
How did you get into the restaurant industry?
So the restaurant industry really started in California as a necessity, right? I mean, you're young and live in Los Angeles, and you need a job, and you got to make a living. And I had also just moved out of my parents' house, and I needed to work. I wanted to move to Los Angeles, and I hope nobody's in LA is listening to this because I doctored up a resume. Went to this one restaurant called the Ivy.
You were young, though. I mean, in your defense.
Well, I mean, who hasn't at some point or the other embellished a little story about what
I don't think I have enough.
Everyone has.
And so, and luckily, the woman that owned the restaurant took a liking to me, and she gave me a job, and that's where I learned most of my hospitality, was at this restaurant in Santa Monica, California. Her only caveat was, because my hair was really, really long back then, her only caveat was that she had to be able to braid it for me every morning when I came to work. So she literally, I swear to God, she'd sit me down and she'd braid my hair, and then I was ready to work.
So offline, you just used the word. Offline, we were talking about the difference between service and hospitality.
Right.
And that's, what is that to you? And you sort of corrected me when I said service, but you had said that, you prefer the word hospitality.
I do. So hospitality to me is... Look, I mean, dining out to me is a very personal decision, right? You choose to meet two friends, and you're taking your girlfriend or your wife out to dinner, and you're meeting people in a place that means something to you. It's not a random choice most of the time, unless it's necessity. But it's never a random choice. You say, let's meet here, and it's by design. You've been there before, so I think it's a very personal choice. You're walking into essentially my house. The two of you come in for lunch or dinner, my doors are open, and you're walking into my house.
Yeah.
And when you make a reservation to come to one of my restaurants, you're committed to giving me that money. You've already committed that to me by making a reservation. Now it's important for me that my staff and myself earn that money, right? It's just because you know that you're going to spend X amount of dollars when you make a reservation in my restaurant doesn't mean that we get to coast.
Right.
We have to earn that.
Yeah, it's more than the service.
It's more than the service. It's hospitality.
It's the full experience.
I want you to feel like you walked into a friend's house for dinner.
Right, just shy of taking your shoes off.
Exactly.
You're comfortable.
100%. I want you to feel comfortable. And for that, it has to be everything. It has to be the music. It has to be the lighting. It has to be the ambiance. It has to be the way the servers are dressed. It has to be the food. It's not just one element doesn't make the whole.
Well, and you are a man that is very committed to detail, and details really matter.
Without a doubt.
They really matter. Whether you're running a restaurant, a real estate business, a construction business, like, details matter. People care.
Well, when you walk into a restaurant, for me, for example, I notice if I go into a restaurant and even a single light bulb is out, it drives me batty, right? Because somebody didn't notice that.
Right.
And so those are the kind of things I instill on my staff all the time. It's like, just think about it as your home.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the details like it's your home. If a light bulb is out, change it. Take it upon yourself to change it immediately. If the music isn't working, find a way to fix it or call me and I'll have it fixed, because that's part of the experience when somebody walks into our joint.
Yeah.
And to me, that's hospitality. I want people to not have to check into a restaurant, but feel like they're welcomed into our home. Like I was talking about this recently, that I don't have hostess podiums or host stands or maitre d' desks in my restaurant. You walk in the door, you can walk straight to the bar, you can walk to the dining room, you can move your way around the restaurant. Feels like you entered a familiar place. And that, from start to finish, is, to me, from the time you walk in to the time you leave. You can sit down at 10 o'clock in the evening, and if we choose to serve you, if the kitchen is open and we seat you at 10 o'clock, you're going to feel the same at midnight. The lights are going to remain the same. The music is going to remain the same. The staff is going to be, they're not going to be cleaning up around you, because we're not giving you a discount by doing any of that. You're still paying full price,
Right.
So you should get the full experience.
I totally agree. And I just love the idea of hospitality versus service. And that tiny little shift makes a world of difference. So from your days in California, you were out there working in the restaurants and cutting your teeth and learning. And then I know you came to New York.
Right.
So around what time in your life was the New York shift?
So I moved to New York when I was I believe I was 25.
Okay.
I mean, I was, a young father, got married young and divorced young. And when my ex-wife, and this is a lot more than I talk about myself generally, because I'm an incredibly private person.
Okay.
And
We can cut it out.
We were talking about this earlier. No one listens to the podcast anyway, so you're good. Just
stop.
keep going.
So she wanted to, when we split up, she wanted to move back to New York, which is where her family's from, my ex-wife. And we had a young daughter, and for me it was a natural progression, because I didn't want to be the kind of dad that shows up on Christmas bearing gifts. I wanted to be in part of her life. I wanted to be a father.
That's important.
And
Thank
so
you.
I moved to New York as well, and the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Love the East Coast. Couldn't live on the West Coast again.
Everything happens for a reason.
Okay, so you're coming over to New York. You've got some restaurant experience behind you. Then what?
It was funny how that happened, too, because I was moving to New York. I knew I was coming. January 12th, 1993 was the date I came to New York. And 2 days before I was arriving, one of my friends in L.A. that I worked with called a friend of his in New York and said, Anshu's coming to New York, you got to help him get a job. And it just turns out they were opening Le Colonial on 57th Street.
And Le Colonial has restaurants all over the country, don't
Yes,
they?
yes.
Right. Okay.
This was
Is
the
New York
first
their
one that they'd
flagship?
opened. Yeah, that was the first one they opened.
Okay.
It's no longer in existence.
I didn't think so, yeah.
But it was there for a good 25-year run.
Okay.
And so when I arrived in New York, I went up to Le Colonial, met them, and literally they offered me the job, and 2 weeks later I was running the bar and lounge upstairs.
Wow.
And that's how I also learned about the New York experience of restaurant and hospitality.
Very different.
Very
When
different
was
in Los
this?
Angeles.
Very
What time
different.
period is this?
Early 90s, 93.
Okay.
What
So
are
New
the-
York's changed a lot since then.
Hugely.
I mean, especially in that
Hugely.
area.
Hugely.
What
New
are the
York's a
key
different animal.
differences between LA and New York in the restaurant industry, would you say?
Service-wise, for staff-wise, it's very similar, right? Because you've got the same kind of pool that you're picking from actors.
Right, a transient workforce.
A transient workforce. You've got the same kind of people that you're picking from. But I think customer-wise, New York is a lot more easygoing than Los Angeles. I think the Los Angeles diners are just very much more demanding. And
Interesting.
you just, I mean, the first.
I don't think I've ever heard of New York is easier, but it's LA.
Well, there are a
so-
lot more dietary restrictions in LA.
You have no idea.
I mean, I've seen on comedy shows that I'd like an egg white omelet, hold the egg whites kind of situation. Like, it's a very picky eater out there.
Yeah. Like,
It's
I would
Hollywood.
never want to do a restaurant in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I would never want to do a restaurant in Los Angeles.
Different breed.
No. But for that matter, I don't think I'd want to do a restaurant in New York again either. I've been approached to do it, but I've just no interest in making that commute on a daily basis, and no way.
That's why you do it when you're young.
So,
We all did our time in New York.
And you should.
Right. It's the best city in the world.
The best city in the world.
And that's why we're here, because we all, for the most part, migrated, either lived here or have come from the city, and it's right in our backyard. We're so lucky. We can dip in and out anytime.
I mean, it is the town. We are a suburb of New York City.
Right.
We are.
And if New York City were everyone to flock to Miami, this would change the area dramatically.
Right,
It's
exactly.
not gonna
Oh,
happen,
absolutely.
but we are a suburb.
And I also love the fact that New York has so much that you can see and do, but at some point when you live there, it's a young person's town, I think. And then when you're done with it, you just have to get out. You need space.
Yes.
And that was the reason for me to want to leave New York, because I needed space. I
Yeah.
just wanted to, so I bought a house in upstate New York. and I just needed space. And I lived in the woods for about 4 years. It's brilliant.
That's where I go every summer.
Little village of 700 people.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Do you ever look at the receipts and to see what states people are coming from? Because I assume like Fat Poodle is going to have a ton of New Yorkers being on Greenwich Avenue.
Penguin does too. I mean, Greenwich. Greenwich has a ton of New Yorkers.
Yeah.
But I was more specifically thinking Greenwich Ave versus downtown Old Greenwich.
Well, during COVID, because we were one of the first towns to open their restaurants. People were driving from all the way down in Philadelphia, Atlantic City, to come up here because we were open serving, even though it was only outdoors. But they had nobody serving anything in Philadelphia or Atlantic City or anything, indoors or out. And so that's how a lot of people learned about us, because we were open, and then we were the first time over the New York border.
Yep.
And we were open for business, and so people would come and explore our restaurants.
Well, and we've discussed with retail, Greenwich Ave pulls from all of what I call Fairchester. And so you get a lot of Westchester to go shopping.
Have pretty great shopping. We have pretty great retail situation on Greenwich Avenue.
You certainly do.
I mean, any given weekend, and I work on the Avenue a day a week or so, but any given weekend, you drive down and it's hard to find a Connecticut plate. Well, if you're from Greenwich, you know that you don't go down the Avenue. You park outside of the avenue, and you walk because it's nice to walk, and it's a nightmare to park. It's a nightmare to park. It's a challenge, and if you don't want to be frustrated, you just avoid it and park on the side streets. Right. But
or you shop on Amazon and just give up.
Right, you just give up.
You just give up.
Or shop on Amazon. No, Scott, support local. Wait, I just want to finish the story about New York. So, key differences between LA and New York. I mean, is LA open as late as New York? You know, New York is notorious for being open. Near. We were talking offline about when you were young and working in the city, and you would have dinner sometimes at 4 a.m. with your people.
That doesn't exist in LA.
Right.
Because everybody's driving, right? It's a different animal when you're driving. Here in New York, you have dinner at 4 o'clock in the morning. You can hop in a cab, or you can hop in a subway,
or walk.
Walk, yeah.
And that's one of the great things about New York. Also, everything you want is within 2 blocks of a subway station.
Truly.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
You can hop on a subway from on 8th Street or on St. Mark's Place. You go up to 42nd Street or Grand Central. Within 2 blocks, you can find anything you want.
Anything. And I think that's been a challenge for some people that have moved out to Greenwich from the city. Like, I can't go to a bodega at 11 o'clock at night and get Mentos.
Right.
Like, no, you can't.
Right. CVS in Riverside is open. I know it specifically.
Yes, you can. Sorry, CVS in Riverside is 24 hours.
Right.
But no, it's also a different beast out here in the suburbs. But that's why people come here, because it is more laid back.
Space.
It's a suburb, and it's a very urban suburb.
It's a chic suburb.
Yeah, and there are amazing restaurants. I mean, trying to land this plane here.
Land the plane.
It's still a suburb. Like this, we're not in New York City. We're not in a city. We're in a suburb, but it has the critical mass of shopping and high-end restaurants. And
right. So I'll fast forward and land the plane. But you came here from New York after living in upstate.
Yeah. So then,
how did you decide on Greenwich?
So this goes now to 2003, I think, when a friend of mine was opening up La Scale. And I was living in the woods, and I was helping my mom with her business and just having a great time. My daughter was spending a lot of time with me upstate. And literally, I wouldn't see people for weeks if I didn't have to. It was just a great life.
That's nice.
And
people are the worst.
I would go crazy, but it does sound nice.
Have you ever noticed that when you have a place in the country that all of a sudden your friends resurface out of the woodwork?
I bet.
Because everybody now wants to get out, and they're living in New York, and you've got a place upstate.
Yeah,
like, can we come up this weekend?
Oh, yeah.
So your calendar is more full when you live up there than when you're living in the city, because everybody wants to get out. And then zip cars happen.
Well, and that's a suburb is a town. It's an area you can live in 7 days a week. The city, it's only during working days.
Right. That's a good point.
I always say zip cars ruined upstate New York.
Well, I've got a car now. Pick it up on 82nd.
Was it that prevalent? Like zip cars are that easy? I lived in the city, but I didn't have a car, and
Scott,
zip car wasn't around when I was there.
The leafers, as they called them.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
No, I guess my question was the zip car, the actual
because
rental.
They would come up in the zip car. It was more accessible. Before, when I had the place up there wasn't any Uber. Right. So these people are hopping on their zip cars, and they're not going to the train station in Poughkeepsie to come across.
And Hertz is just too much of a pain.
When
Zip
you
just made
can
it
pick
easy.
it up on the street corner.
Yeah.
I'm not a. I'm
You would literally order it up and just go and pick it up on a street corner, go to wherever you want,
And
drop
leave it
it
there
back
when you
off
get
on the
there.
street
That's
corner.
awesome. That's
It's
awesome.
pretty wild.
Uber does that now. Have you heard this? Uber,
No.
you can rent cars from Uber. Uber
Really?
will deliver a car to your house.
What?
Yeah, you can rent a car through Uber. They'll deliver it to your house and they'll pick it up there. Car rentals through Uber.
Wow, Uber. We're
This
gonna.
plane is not getting anywhere.
So
near.
anyway, yeah, but we're just chit chatting and it's a fun little
That's the whole point of the podcast.
So-
Okay, I'm just going to cut right to a question. You've got a bunch of different restaurants, and when you're in the process of opening a new one, which you are,
Yeah.
how much do you think about making it unique versus what's worked before? And that's got to be, you've created a brand
Right.
that's worked before. It's got to be hard not to just replicate that.
So, first of all, you have to have an ego about what you do, right? You have to have an ego, somewhat of an ego, not an overinflated sense of self or anything, just an ego. This is what we do.
And we're confident
And
in
we're
what we
confident
do.
in what we do, and
It's
that's
good.
what to me ego is. You have to have that confidence, and you also have to be confident that I've done that, but I don't need to do this exactly the same way as I did the first thing because I've learned so much from the first one. I've learned how to set up the kitchen differently. I've learned how to paint the room differently. I've learned that ceiling lights don't always work in the same way in every space.
But that's improving upon. I'm more meant the making sure they're all different. And I'm thinking right now off the bat, Poodle and Penguin.
Right.
They're different restaurants, but they do have a similar feeling.
Right.
They're different locations, which does come with a different feeling. Greenwich Avenue, downtown Old Greenwich does provide a different experience.
So to match the building also, when I first saw the space, when I first walked into where Jean-Louis used to be, which is where Penguin is, first thing that came to mind was classic New York-style French bistro. Dark, dimly lit, a lot of noise. You walk into a bistro in New York, you hear the plates clanking, people moving, glasses.
I also love, and again, I love people, but I love that it's so intimate, and
Right.
I can be sitting next to a total stranger, and by the end of the night, it's like, happy birthday,
Right,
congratulations. Somehow you've gotten to know them, whether you're in conversation with them all night or not. I have never walked out of Penguin not meeting someone new.
Or happy.
I mean, granted, that's my
And
personality.
what are the odds that it's actually their birthday, or they're just trying to get the
Well,
the
it
free
is the
slice?
most
Yeah.
fun thing, but yes, French bistro vibe, and it's intimate, and the food's so good, and the staff are all just dialed in,
Right.
And it's just a cozy, it's a special place, and you've got that velvet curtain. I don't know if that's up all.
It's
Is
only
that
for the
just the
winter.
winter?
It's only for the
Okay,
winter.
which is so nice to
Right.
divide the restaurant because it's not a big space. Which is nice about it, that it's intimate like that. But in the winter, there's a big velvet curtain and a coat rack so that when you come in, I've walked in with 5 people that we were about to sit, all 5 of us, but we're totally separated from the diners when the door is open and the cold air is coming in, so they don't feel it.
Right.
And we're able to take off our coats and, reset before we walk into the restaurant, which I really appreciate that about the space in the winter.
So to answer your question further, it's how do we differentiate them? Each space also dictates
Yeah.
what goes into the space.
Right.
And that makes a lot of sense with Poodle and Penguin.
So when when I was approached about the Poodle building, a friend of mine had the lease on the space and they wanted to do a restaurant there, and they're Old Greenwich residents, but they were finance boys. They'd never done a restaurant or anything. So they asked me if I'd be interested in helping them set it up. Thought about it, and I thought, do I want my name associated with something that I'm going to just set up and leave 3 months later? No. So we worked it out where I took over the deal, made it our restaurant, approached Antoine and said, we've got this space, let's do a restaurant here. We walked into it, and the first feeling that came over me when I walked in that building was I should be wearing a white linen suit with a rum and coke in my hand. Right? Those
Very
high
Don
seat-
Johnson.
The high ceilings,
That tracks.
the
That
brick-
place.
It totally, that's what
Yeah.
it felt like.
Yeah.
So then when we called our designer, Lynn Morgan, and I said, this is what I feel like, she goes, I totally feel it. She walked in the room, and she said, I see big palm trees, I see these big globe lights hanging from the ceiling. And that's the thing about working also with a designer that understands what you're trying to do, is she gets it, and then she puts her own spin on it, and she nails it.
So then does the food follow that?
So
I mean, because they do have, this is way out of my area of expertise, but yeah, does the food follow that?
the food is always a part of the conversation. So when Le Penguin happened, it was going to be a French bistro. We knew that. So because I knew that there wasn't a French bistro for 30 miles around that was worth its salt, right? I wanted to be able to go in and eat a steak tartare.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to have a moule frite. I wanted to have escargot. I love that food. When I was living in New York, I loved eating at bistros. Raoul's, Jules Bistro, Bourdain's
So good.
Bistro on 29th
Now I'm hungry.
Like, I mean, that's good food.
Yeah,
It's
where are the
such good
samples?
food.
Hold on. Nitnoy came. There were all these samples.
Seriously,
Where's my
9 o'clock
rum
in
and
the morning?
Coke right now?
If you guys were doing this a little
we
bit
don't
later in the day,
steak
I'd have brought
frites
you
at
all
9
kinds of
a.m.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
I went into a French bistro in Paris and ordered. It's a whole different story. But
So the food stays as part of the theme. Poodle was the idea behind Poodle was that whole linen suit, rum and Coke, and we knew immediately that this has to be a global cuisine bistro,
yeah.
right? So that to us was like, and I mean, think about that from a chef standpoint, dude. You get to go anywhere you want. I tell my chefs every day, you're special. Go to a different part of the world.
How
Today
fun.
you do Vietnamese. Tomorrow you do French. You can do whatever you want.
Fun.
Anywhere. And look at the menu. We have Vietnamese spring rolls. We've got bone marrow. We've got Indian themed items. Mexican.
Yeah.
And I make it a point every season to put one of my mom's recipes on the menu.
I did read that this week, and I love that. I love that story, and I want to hear more about your mom and growing up with a mother who is such an amazing cook, chef, really, but cook. I was lucky to have my mom was a great cook, and I love cooking. She instilled that in me. I love playing around. But what types of cuisine was your mom necessarily cooking, or was it different, or was it all Indian food, or what was it? Because
It was
Indian food is
different.
very spice forward.
Right.
Like depth of flavor is incredible.
Right. And you can't eat it every day.
No.
You just can't eat it every day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's you have Indian food. I grew up in India. I lived there till I was 15 years old, right? So
Cool.
I grew up with how an Indian household actually eats, as opposed to eating in an Indian restaurant, which is tailored for one night when you go out, a month maybe, and you have Indian food. But Indian food in India is like everything's freshly made. You've got, the Indian tortillas, the whole wheat tortilla is a part of every meal. Rice is a staple in every meal. But my mother would always cook her take on Indian cuisine.
Right.
So she was a vegetarian all her life, but she could stand in the back of the kitchen and direct a chicken curry dish the way she wanted it cooked, and you'd end up eating it, and it was the best thing you've ever eaten.
Right.
And the chicken would never touch her lips or the sauce, or even
She could
the
still
pan.
get the taste down. I mean, that's-
100%.
Wow.
My brother, sister, and I, all of us have to have separate pans in our house and plates for when she visits, because my mother will not eat off a plate that has meat or fish or meat touching it,
Right.
Okay.
or a pan that has meat cooked in it.
Yeah.
So we have a separate set of stuff for my mother when she comes to visit.
I love that.
That's awesome.
She deserves it.
It's a pain in the
So
ass.
with Portchester, are you you're working off the space?
Right. So Portchester is going to be Siren number 2, but while we're going to stay thematically the same, right? It's going to be what that is, a Mediterranean tapas joint with a big bar and an oyster station, but it's going to be designed specific to the space, because this is 19-foot
Oh,
ceilings.
it's massive.
I can't wait to see
It's
this
a
space.
cool spot. I mean, it's a really cool.
19-foot ceilings. The entire front side of it, the Terry Lodge corner where you would enter Terry
Yeah.
Lodge, is all glass.
Oh, wow.
So it's such a different feeling from the Siren. I mean, when we walked into the Siren space in Old Greenwich, we knew immediately that I wanted people to feel like they got off a boat on a Greek island.
That is how it feels there. And for those of you listening, all three of you listening, as Scott would like to say, we are talking about the property in Portchester where the Terry Lodge used to live. It's diagonally across the street from Sam's, which has been there forever, and it is currently under construction. And they are building. There will be retail on the bottom floor, and I believe
It's mixed use on the
residential.
bottom floor and 6 floors of apartments above.
Okay, yeah, 6 floors. That's a lot. And that is where Siren number 2 and Siren number 1 that opened last year,
August 1 last year.
August 1st, is in Old Greenwich on Sound Beach Avenue. If you haven't been, you must go. So carry on.
And everybody should go to Sam's and have chili fries at 4 in the morning.
I mean, that's
Where's
that's how
Sam's? I've never been to Sam's.
I've never been to Sam's. I don't know what it is.
Oh my God, this is great.
Wait, sorry, I started going
Are
at
you
21.
kidding? You're kidding, aren't you?
I mean,
Yeah, like how do you not
I grew
know?
up here.
Right.
Sam's was where you went when Greenwich closed.
Right.
Because it's New York and it stayed open until 4 in the morning. And Sam's
Offline,
sauce,
we'll talk a lot more about Sam's.
offline, Sam's sauce is an addiction. It
Right.
is like you
Chili
kinda-
cheese fries at 4 in
and
the morning.
yeah,
go to Dick's Street.
I mean, right, exactly. Chili cheese fries at Sam's. I mean, I
Well,
will.
it's perfect for Siren. Just you close and push them over.
Boom, move them
Right.
over to Siren.
I mean,
You should have an
Move over,
escort.
go to Sam's,
Have a
right.
person walking them across.
I was disappointed when Sam's renovated, although now I really appreciate it because it's nicer and bigger. But yeah, we lived there growing
Listen,
up.
dive bars are a dying breed, but they should be paid attention to. Like one of my favorite dive bars is
Bruce Park Grill.
no, it's in Stamford on the Chopin side.
Oh,
Brennan's.
Yep.
What
One
a
of
kick-ass place
It's-
that is.
it's-
Brennan's
It's
is awesome.
ridiculous.
it's awesome. Well, and it's real people, real fun. It's good time.
It's a great time. Every
It's a
time
great
I used to
time.
live around the corner from there, and the number of times I crawled home from there, it was just
Yeah. Well,
the
and
best.
for us, Bruce Park Grill is that bar which was closed for a long time and is now reopened. And everyone's just so happy to have a dive bar to be in. You know, jukebox, shuffleboard, just
Right.
beer, whatever, pizza. So wait, I really wanted. We're jumping around, but I really want to know how the names Le Fat Poodle and Le Penguin came into existence.
So, Le Penguin was two-faceted in bistros in Paris because the way the waiters dress, the black pants and the white shirts and the black
Okay.
aprons, they call them penguins. They're referred to as penguins.
Right.
And so that was one idea. And then it also felt familiar to my partner. That was the initial idea, but it also felt familiar to Antoine because his daughter used to refer to him as a penguin when she was young.
Oh, I
And
like
so we
that.
thought, all right, you know what? It's a great mix of the two of them, and and you're the Frenchman in our equation here, and we're opening a French bistro,
Right.
So we'll call it Le Penguin, and we just wanted to be whimsical.
I love it.
I don't want the names to have anything to do with food.
Well, and I love the logo.
So great.
It's just perfect.
No,
It's penguin.
and the stamp and everything.
And the stamp on the
it
paper,
works.
yeah.
But I also look at, and I'm just because of right now comparing the two of them, they are different experiences.
They're
For
meant to
me,
be.
like if I'm energized, I want to go out. I've got a group. I want the birthday.
Totally
the whole thing,
different.
I'm going to Penguin. If I want a little bit more relaxed, I'm going to the Poodle. And
It's
so
odd that you say that because see, this is the great thing about the hospitality business. Everybody's experience is so individual.
So different.
You said that Penguin feels more energetic to you.
it's not to get personal, it's an auditory thing.
That's what I
and
mean.
so if
It's
I'm
so
in a room
different.
with a lot of people,
A
even
lot
if
of
everyone's
noise.
quiet, even if it's calm, it feels, and so
Well, and it's a smaller space.
it's a smaller space.
That's a
But yeah, for
business
me, if
business to me, everybody's experience is so individual.
Right.
Like Lindsay can go and love Le Fat Poodle because the energy is so different in that room, and
Right.
it's the younger crowd.
Totally.
And the energy feels. And there are people that refuse to go to Le Fat Poodle that live in Greenwich will only go to Le Penguin because they feel Le Fat Poodle's too young for them or too energetic for them.
it's so funny.
And there are people that live in Old Greenwich that will not go to Greenwich because they feel like it's a little too stodgy for them. It's
Right.
a little like stale. They don't want to go there.
Well, and I base it off a conversation. If I want to have a serious conversation, really catch up with you, I like Fat Poodle for that. I mean, I think it's a great spot to sit down and to have that. And I mean, the other question, the time of the day is huge,
Right.
And is it Friday afternoon or is it Tuesday in the middle of the day?
It's also an interesting point that you make about noise, right? How you hear people. Just God, the little details that you got to pay
Right.
attention to into a restaurant. So many.
The carpet
little
under the
things.
table.
One of the biggest things I think about when we're building a restaurant is how are we going to control the sound? What are we going to do about the sound? And you learn from your mistakes. We failed miserably in that in Westport. We thought, ego is great. We're going to have Le Penguin is going to rock in Westport like it did in Greenwich.
We look forward. There we go.
And we didn't pay attention to the details like we should have.
Yeah.
Right.
And we got
When was that?
opened that in August of 2017 and closed in June of 2020.
Well, and you don't learn from you don't learn from winning. You learn from mistakes. What not to do the next time.
Does the
right?
carpet under the table help?
What worked? What didn't
No.
work?
It doesn't.
No.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
It is a
this
It
is
is a thing.
dork growing up with my father. It's like feel under the table. There's carpeting to help with the noise.
So it will never make it go away. It just dulls it a bit because sound
Right.
bounces
So it does
off
help a little
everything.
bit?
Right.
It'll dull the sound because you don't want. I know that I don't want a quiet restaurant. I don't want to. You're not eating in a library,
Right.
Yeah.
right? I want there to be noise and activity, but I also don't want it to be a din. There's a difference between a noise level and a din that is sharp and tinny and annoying
Yeah.
and drives you nuts.
And those restaurants exist.
And they do. And I try to avoid. I'm okay with noise, but I want that noise to be soft.
Yeah.
Right? And it's kind of like, you ever listen to when people are playing music really, really soft, and you just want them to turn it off because it's annoying to hear it at that low level?
Right, because you can hear it,
But
and
it's
you don't
annoying
want
you
to hear
because you can't really hear it.
Right. You can hear it, but we can't really.
But there's also, I mean, for me, there's no one answer. There is a difference between a big group, I'm excited, let's go out, and then a quieter conversation. And so having a diversity of restaurants in the town is
And we
really
are
helpful
also
for
very
that.
particular and clear about when people call and make a reservation and they request, can we have a private table or a corner table or something that is really, really not
right
loud.
in the mix, yeah.
And we also always make it a point to let them know we're a busy restaurant.
Yep.
We cannot guarantee you that it's going to be quiet. We're a busy restaurant. You want to come at 6 o'clock on a Friday night, where it's more than likely it's full. And so I also want people to understand that we're not selling you a bill of goods. When you come into a restaurant, you're going to know exactly what you're getting.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I don't want you to come in with the understanding that, oh, yeah, you promised me a corner quiet table. No, I didn't, because
Right.
it doesn't exist in our restaurants.
Well, and a Friday night, you're not going to any good restaurant that's quiet. You know what I mean?
But I don't want you to be
busy.
disappointed when you
Yeah.
walk in.
Oh, no. I mean, and for me, it's always been consistent. Like, I
Right.
know what I'm getting. I know when I want to go there. I know when I want the quiet space.
And that's such a key word in our industry, too, in my industry, in the hospitality business, is consistency. I'm such a stickler for, like, if you have the chicken paillard today and you come back tomorrow, it better taste exactly the same.
Well, that is what deters people when they do have that experience where it doesn't taste or
Right.
look the same. Again,
Right.
back to the details of how it looks. One bad experience can turn someone away as a consumer
Right.
forever.
Right.
Truly.
And it's not even just about that one consumer, right? Because then it's exponentially.
You don't know how many
friends
people they
they've
talk
told,
to,
or
right.
they've written an email to their office mates, and
Right.
next thing you know, you're like scrambling to get that one person back.
Right. Which just seems like not worth it, but also.
No,
worth
and
it.
I mean, consistency is huge to go back several times if you're going to make a big event out of it.
And some chefs feel
Absolutely.
it differently, right? Some chefs will be like, oh, the ingredients are different. Today the garlic tastes different when I roasted than it did yesterday. Or you use a different olive oil and it changes the entire taste and complexion of a dish.
Right.
As opposed, like, somebody might not know the difference appearance-wise between a cayenne pepper powder or just a regular red chili powder.
Yeah.
And they might use that. And it's now a
Ruins the dish.
totally different dish.
Well, and that's when you make a different dish.
Right.
As opposed to, I mean,
Right.
if I'm ordering a different thing and then the menu changes, which you do change it a fair bit.
We do.
That's the opportunity. But
Well,
if-
you do have a consistent flow of people eating at your restaurants 2 to 3 times a week.
Right.
So changing the menu is integral to the success, most likely.
Certain things, yes. I mean, seasonally we change dishes, but certain things that, I mean, I get emails and letters when I
Red
change
snapper?
stuff. Yeah. Can't take the red snapper off at Poodle. Can never take the Cajun chicken off at Le Penguin.
I mean, I have to force myself to not order the snapper because I want to try the whole menu, but it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Everything's
I
so
have no
good.
shame. I order the same things over
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
over again.
And I don't
love
even
it.
recommend things to people anymore. When people say, what do you recommend that I eat? I can't do that.
No, there's everything's
much.
good.
Just pick something
To
off
be
the
honest,
menu and
everything's good. We're lucky to have such great restaurants in town.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, please.
So we're lucky to have other restaurants in town, which is so great because it pushes everybody to get their asses in the best possible shape, because it's one piece of the pie, right? And if that pie, there's only 200 people going out to dinner, there's 30 restaurants that they can choose to go out to dinner to that night. It's not like we're in New York City where we've got an endless supply of walking by tourists and people and
Right.
everything else.
It's intentional.
It's intentional. People choose to go someplace.
Right.
Which is so important. That's why I think like having all these restaurants in Greenwich is so great. More eyeballs. It draws people from other places. They want to go try other restaurants that we have here.
Right. We are a destination.
100%, which is what we're trying to do in Old Greenwich, because I don't see why Old Greenwich can't have the same cachet that Greenwich Avenue does.
Right.
Well, I mean, I agree with that statement, but I like that Old Greenwich provides something different
100%.
in itself. So I would hate to see Old Greenwich turn into downtown Greenwich.
No.
Like,
You're
and
never
so-
going to want to see in Old Greenwich what you see on Greenwich Avenue. You're never going to want to see the ritzy, glamorous stores. I mean, you're a
No,
little
it's a beach town.
community.
Right. But you
But you
do
have to-
want for people that live across town, when they are choosing where they want to go out to dinner, keeping the restaurants that are in Old Greenwich in their mind as choices.
Right.
1,000%.
Right.
So
I
everybody
get
has
that.
to up their game. The retail has to up their game. The
Right.
restaurants have to up their game. The landlords have to up their game. You have
Right.
to attract. When we first opened Le Fat Poodle, 2014 December, I think.
Was
At a
it?
December of 2014. 10 years already. Can you
December,
believe it?
quite a time to open a restaurant.
Construction delays, and sooner or
It
later
wasn't
you're
your
running-
choice, right?
and you're running out of money. You're like, I got to open this damn place,
Yeah.
and so we had to open it. But it was the best thing we did. So when we opened Le Fat Poodle, a lot of the vendors in town were upset with us because it was busy. There was no parking in town. And so people would come to me and say, well, you guys are taking away our parking. My response was, don't think of it that way. Think of it as we're bringing eyeballs to the town. Up your game. Make your windows more accessible. Make them want to go into your stores.
And there are a lot of great stores on that side street.
The vendors were complaining?
Yeah,
because you're bringing bodies.
The other shopkeepers. Yeah, but there were people that were upset. I mean, parking is such a nightmare that people complain about it all the time.
And it is everywhere.
It is.
There are more people and cars than there are spots. What's the side street called that Fat Poodle is on?
Arcadia.
Arcadia, right. And there are a lot of great spots on Arcadia
Always.
alone.
Always.
I mean, Alpen Pantry is right across the street.
Yeah.
Do you know the Dunkin' Donuts story? When the
No.
Dunkin' Donuts came into town?
No.
So in Old Greenwich, and correct me if I'm wrong, the two listeners or you guys.
Stop saying
I thought you said it was 3.
Yeah, well, we have the 3 of us.
Oh, the 3 of us.
So, and then 2 outside. Okay, so there's been 2 really quick stories that I love about Greenwich as far as franchises. And, big box. CVS, automatically, everyone's like, I need a CVS here.
Well, it is.
But Subway, when Subway came, started in Connecticut, and they came to the top of Greenwich Avenue, everyone was freaking out that, like, they're not going to be successful, it's not going to work. But they found that niche of people that wanted a quick, easy and out lunch, and they crush it on a per square foot basis. Like, that's, I think, was the highest producing Subway in the country on
Really?
a per square foot basis, because
Wow.
it's a teeny little alley. Dunkin' Donuts comes to Old Greenwich, and everyone's in an uproar. And it's, oh my God, Dunkin' Donuts, blah, 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 it's all ruining and all that stuff. By the way, it's a perfect location walking onto the train station.
It is, and at the time, Joe's Coffee didn't exist.
Right.
Well, so Dunkin' Donuts comes in town, everyone's in an uproar. Then Starbucks comes in town, and everyone's thrilled. And it's like, hold on here. But,
Dunkin' Donuts is from Boston.
yeah, I mean, come on.
Wait, there's no Starbucks in Old Greenwich?
No, but downtown.
No, downtown Greenwich.
And exit
Starbucks
6.
started coming
Yeah.
Riverside.
Yeah.
But anyhow, the entrance of Starbucks into Greenwich came a lot more exciting than the entrance of Dunkin' Donuts.
I think I've been in that Dunkin' Donuts once because I really love local. I love supporting local, and I prefer coffee from people that I know, and I like going to Joe's and supporting them. But
What's that coffee joint on Greenwich Avenue?
CF.
CF.
Now there's one in
They have really good
Riverside.
coffee.
Yeah, and there's one in Riverside too.
Right on the post road?
Yep.
Yeah,
on the
they do
Post Road.
really good coffee. I like what they do.
No, they do fantastic coffee.
Yeah.
Too. And it's a great place to meet someone I have meetings there all the time. How did Le Fat Poodle get its name?
So
Just
that
say your partner something. But
my partner's a fat poodle. No, I'm just kidding. So we were sitting at the Fat Poodle and thinking about the restaurant. These are such funny little things because they're so random.
I know. That's
And-
why I wanted to ask.
There was Antoine and I was sitting there, and there's all this construction going on around us, and we're trying to figure out when the hell this restaurant's going to open. Got the chef working on the menu, and we couldn't come up with a name. We just knew that we wanted to be whimsical, and we didn't want it to have anything to do with food. I swear to God, a woman walks across right in front of the window, and she's got a big fat poodle that she's got on a leash.
that's awesome.
Swear to God.
That's awesome.
And Antoine and I both looked at each other and were like, we'll call it Le Fat Poodle.
I love that story.
And
I didn't know
that's how the
that.
name
Thank
came
you.
around. That's how the name came around.
A fat poodle.
A fat poodle.
Does that woman know?
I'd have no idea. I have no idea. That's just Antoine and I sitting
If there's
there.
a woman out
She
there with
might
a fat
find
poodle,
out.
Right,
that-
you might
Yeah.
when
know
was
now.
this? Walking
Now
by?
you know. You live in OG.
Get a free dinner?
Yeah, this was probably sometime in June of 2014 when we were trying to get.
Well, and I love.
We should do an ad, a wanted ad.
I know, I love-
Right?
What-
Can you identify
2014,
the fat
last
poodle?
scene, Sound Beach Ave, 2014.
Yeah, because that dog's probably
Famous.
sadly,
Not
famous,
getting
but maybe
royalties.
yeah.
He wasn't taken care of, so it's
Right.
it ate too much.
He obviously, but I love that it has
That's how
nothing to
that
do
came
with
about.
food
Because
too.
it's also whimsical. That's what the part of the thing about the restaurants is. We just want them to be whimsical and fun.
And they are.
We're serving food and wine for a living. We're not trying to save lives. We want people to have a good time.
And so, how did then Siren come onto the scene? Because it is a different, it's Mediterranean food.
Right.
It's tapas, which
Right.
I personally really enjoyed. I've been there, and I love that you can have. I love tapas because you can really try so many different things. But how did the idea for a Mediterranean joint in town come to be?
So the time was right. I wanted to do another restaurant. I knew that I was going to do it on my own, and I knew that my newer partners that live in Old Greenwich had just purchased the building. Right? And first it was I didn't want anybody else coming into the space and taking it and doing a restaurant because I didn't want somebody else's competition in Old Greenwich. I thought if I'm going to give up a market share in Le Fat Poodle, I'd rather give it up to myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Smart.
Right? So then we got together and decided that we're going to do the restaurant. I always thought I love eating like that. And I'd spent a fair amount of time in Barcelona in 2019, which is one of my favorite cities. And I love...
I thought you meant the restaurant.
I didn't.
No, Barcelona and Spain.
Yeah.
One of my favorite... And I love the way these people live and eat.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lifestyle. It's a choice that they make to... Even when they eat at 2 o'clock in the morning, pardon the French, but they're not eating shit. They're eating really good food.
Right.
The little pinchos and the stuff that they're eating, and they eat
Fresh.
small plates. Nobody's gorging on anything. Right?
We're doing it all wrong here in America.
I just think that they live...
Well, they siesta. Enough said.
There's a little sex appeal in their lives.
There is.
Right? It's
Yes.
just, there's something sexy about the way they eat and live.
It's
The
not.
plane is back up in the air right now. Run with
Well,
it.
it's true though. I mean, and Barcelona is such a special city.
Oh my God, I love it.
The food's all back to European food, just being so fresh, and I mean, and you're doing that in all of your restaurants.
Listen,
but-
when we were in Barcelona, I'll tell you a quick little side note about food. There's a chef in Barcelona, so we went to, are we going off track?
No, keep going.
So,
We compete on who takes us off, the further
who
off.
goes
the
off
track.
on tangent?
Well, and you and I were talking about this earlier. Like you actually listen to the podcast. You're one
Yeah.
of those 3 viewers.
haven't.
But you like that. It's
Has he
it's
really
more of a
not listened
conversation.
to it?
No, he's not.
I can't. I
don't
just-
understand
What
it.
happens? Are you
I
like a
trust in Lindsay.
Are you a musician that doesn't like to listen to your own songs?
I
You're
know.
not that good.
You're gonna
But
stop- I'm
you
gonna
like the
force you to
fact that
start
it's,
listening.
you like the fact that it's more of a conversation.
I love it. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
so
I
just run with
love.
it.
I don't like interviews. I've done a fair amount of them, and I don't like doing interviews. I don't want because interviews become a question and answer session.
Right.
It's like somebody asking me where are you going to be 10 years from now, either alive or dead. I don't know.
Well, there are certain things that I like to know to ask
Well,
you
guidelines, I
because
get it.
the people in our community want to know. But other than that, this is so casual.
Oh, yeah, we're casual.
Well, think about like for me, everything about what I do is fairly casual. It's the whole Barcelona experience with eating a paella, which I like. I'd never eaten a fresh made paella. Watching somebody make it, and the chef was doing this experience, and it was an Airbnb experience that my ex-girlfriend at the time she found. Top floor garden apartment, chef. Only 10 people can book at a time. Does it twice a week, and you're on his rooftop overlooking the entire city of Barcelona.
That's insane.
And you're drinking. He starts you off with oysters, and you're drinking a white wine that comes
And it's
from one of their
paired.
regions.
Yeah.
Right, and then then you have a cocktail, and then after you have the cocktail, then he sits down. You're meeting and mingling with these strangers that you don't even know, and he starts cooking that paella in a big ass pan on his roof.
Ugh.
And then you sit there and you have paella with 10 total strangers, and you're having an amazing time.
Can you make that same paella here?
So we have something very similar at Siren. It's obviously there's when you cook a paella in a big paella pan and it's all specifically made to cook that paella in, it's a different feeling because a lot of people don't understand that the bottom on the paella, the rice, is supposed to be a little burned.
Right.
Yeah.
It's supposed to have a little crunch to it. I'm going to sound like a jerk here, but I think the American palate is a little different than native palates, right? If you serve somebody the food that a native eats it might not be accepted the right way because they might think that the bottom of it is burned.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a negative against the American palate. It's just the paella is not a native American dish. So we have to doctor it to serve it a little bit that suits our palate.
Fair.
First time I had paella, I thought the bottom was burned. I have an American palate. And so then I learned that no, that's really not. That's just how the bottom is supposed to have a crunch. Like the famous Puerto Rican dish, arroz con pollo. They make it in the pan with the sofrito, but they make a point to burn the bottom.
So it's crispy.
That rice on the bottom is crispy, and that's a
that sounds great,
Everybody's
but
reaching for that.
yeah.
So
I've had one real paella experience, and it's such a labor of love.
So
It is
good.
the time that the person that we were with took to cook the paella and to do it right in the huge pan. The socializing that went on
That's a
while
great
he was
drinking
cooking,
dish
it
to
was like
cook.
such a mellow. I mean, basically the party was watching this whole thing
Right.
be cooked,
Right.
and it was really cool to watch and such just like a nice time. We didn't even. I mean, of course, everyone's excited to eat it, but the party was around the food. It was. I mean, maybe 8 people there, but it was. We had so much to talk about, so much to learn because he had really learned how to do it right. He did not want to do it the wrong way. You wanted to do right by that paella, and it was the best tasting.
Do right by the
Yeah,
paella.
Someday
right.
you guys should
Do
pop
right.
into any of the restaurants when they serve family meal. We serve food for the staff twice a day, right? There's a morning family meal that's served around 10:30 or 11, and then an afternoon family meal that's served around 4 or 4:30 every day. There are certain dishes that they make that I make sure that if I'm in my office next door or in the neighborhood, they have to call and let me know, so I can go have. It's some of the best food I've ever eaten. When they make that family meal, it's some of the best food I've ever eaten.
Culturally, I just love the idea of the staff taking the time to cook together and eat together, because
Right.
it also builds rapport among the people that are working there, so that there's respect.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And the food. But the food.
So,
The
like
food.
what? Give us an example.
So, I mean, like, I'd never eaten a lomo saltado. Do you know what that is?
It's my husband's favorite.
It's so good. And
It's
so
so
one day I'm
good.
walking through, this happened at Le Penguin way back when, and I see this big tray of this thing that looks kind of weird but kind of awesome. And I asked, and they're like, this is
Lomo.
Peru's national dish. And got myself a plate of it. I literally sat there and gorged on this thing because it was so damn good.
There's a food truck that does lomo unlike any that I've ever had. It's basically steak over French fries with
And
this
tomatoes and rice and sautéed together.
and it's all sautéed together.
That sounds
and,
awesome.
It's a big
and-
stew, essentially.
Right, and then the sauce, the lomo sauce, is like key. It's just so good.
So every once in a while, I can do this at Poodle, not at Penguin, because Poodle's more conducive to that. I'll tell the chef what they made for family meal that day. I wanted to run it as a special. So when we ran the lomo saltado as a special, I swear to God, within the first 45 minutes, it was sold out, gone.
Yeah.
But then we also can do whimsical stuff there, right? One day I was craving chili cheese. I love chili cheese fries. I'm telling you, I don't know why I love chili cheese fries.
Those will do well in Portchester.
So
by
I
the way.
called
You know,
downstairs.
right before Sam's.
Wait, you've got to have them done right. I called downstairs and I told the chef, "Can you make chili cheese fries tonight?" He goes, "Is that what you want to eat?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to eat chili cheese fries." He said, "I'm going to run it as a special then." It's like,
Fine.
have at it. Run
That's
chili
amazing.
cheese fries. Again, first hour, sold out.
Wow.
Yeah,
At Poodle?
at Poodle. I do
Wow.
crazy stuff at Poodle. We have you'd never think that a restaurant like Poodle would have jalapeno poppers on the menu.
No, I wouldn't.
They are, and they're so good.
Really?
Oh my God.
I don't go out enough.
That's the
We're
fun
going.
part about
Okay,
Poodle.
let's
going
go.
out.
Yeah.
We're going.
No,
They have
I want the
nachos on the menu.
10:30 or 2. What are the
Family meal.
The family
I know, I
times?
want
Yeah.
the family
10:30
meal.
or 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm telling you, you guys should check it out. If you're walking by the neighborhood, pop in.
No, we will. I will.
Leading into that, so the family meal is the chefs get to make whatever they want.
Right.
I mean,
And so the chef who's in charge of the kitchen will designate who's doing what on which night of the week. So on Mondays, one of the guys in the line is cooking. Tuesday, another guy on the line is cooking. On Wednesday, so on and so forth.
Right.
And so each one of them makes whatever they want on Monday. And then the next guy that's supposed to cook on Tuesday will make whatever he wants. So it just becomes a little family meal. I mean, the eggs that they make in the morning, whew,
Really?
ridiculous.
how do you find the chefs? I mean, how do you find your employees?
So, a lot of when I was at La Scale for 7 years, 6.5 years, and I was the director of operations, managing partner. We had a big staff. La Scale was a big
It's a
operation.
big operation, yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, room service, catering, 7 days a week.
Wow.
Huge.
Is it?
Huge?
And for those listening, La Scala is down on the water on Steamboat Road, adjacent to the Del Mar Hotel. And
Giving
it's a-
plugs to everybody today.
That we are, I know. Well,
Plug them all. More the merrier.
Building
Charge
Greenwich.
them. Come on.
building
Yeah.
Greenwich.
Yes.
No, but really, I mean, we're here to support everyone in the town to build
100%.
community. I am build community is what
I love
it
it.
could have been called.
Well,
But
the more eyeballs, the merrier.
Oh,
Totally.
Totally.
and it gets people to know you, and I mean that's the whole point. But yes, it's a huge operation, and it's a huge restaurant.
So to answer your question, it's a gigantic operation. So to answer your question about staff, so a fair amount of staff, literally, when they were working there, their families started working with us, and like somebody's sister would come and join the team, and so we had a lot of families working there. And then when I left La Scale in 2009, I opened a little order-at-the-counter taco joint in Stamford
Okay.
called Picante Fresh, and literally I loved that place. I kept it open for 7 years just because I liked eating the tacos there. It was awesome.
Well, that's going to segue us into Juju,
Right.
Okay.
because we
So,
do need
Let's
to talk
get back
about
to
Juju.
where,
Yeah, go ahead.
finding a top tier chef.
Yeah, go
finding
ahead.
the-
Talk-
So the way
finish
this
that
works
stuff.
is then most of the time I promote from within. So a lot of people when I opened up Le Penguin, a lot of people that were with me at La Scale came to work with me there. And it was all people that we knew. There was a guy that George Escobar that opened Le Penguin with Adrian Bleck, who's now at Orienta, my partner Antoine's son. And George had started with me at La Scale as a dishwasher. And then from a dishwasher, he was so good, this kid, so good. Details. You tell him something, he got it in 2 seconds. You didn't have to tell him twice. And then so from there, he moved on to being the saucier, so he was making sauces. And then from making the sauces, then he started working on the garde-manger station. So he was doing salads and he was doing appetizers. And then he started working on the fish station and then the meat station. Literally, this guy became so good.
That's fantastic.
And then he became the chef at Le Penguin, and he became the chef at Le Penguin Westport.
Oh, get out!
Yeah,
I love a story like that.
A lot of most experiences. Francois, who was an executive chef that we hired, he used to work with Wolfgang Puck. We hired him to be the executive chef at La Scale in, I think, 2005 or something.
Right.
We had lost our executive chef and we needed a replacement. He came to this country from the Ivory Coast and started as a dishwasher.
Wow.
And then he was running for Wolfgang's catering business in Chicago.
Francois. I remember. And also, I just love that as a leader, you saw the potential. You saw that this kid was learning quickly and was driven and wanted to grow and fostered that. Because it also takes good leadership to see that in someone and give them opportunities.
Well, you have to be humble about that. Even though I do have an ego, I'm humble about the fact that I know that I'm only as good as the people that are around me. That's the only thing that makes our operations work. You know, I mean, I drive the bus, sure. But if there's no passengers on the bus, where's the bus going? Right. Nowhere. It's pointless. So my staff also understands that. Like, somebody has to drive the bus. At some point, I'm going to decide to turn right, and I'm going to turn the bus right. And you guys want to come along for that ride, then you come along for the ride. If I'm going to turn left and you don't want to go left, you can jump off.
Right.
But understand that I got to drive the bus. Somebody has to drive the bus. It can't be a free-for-all.
No.
Like, you can't...
It wouldn't work.
The lunatics cannot run the asylum. And we're all lunatics.
Yes. Let's talk quickly about Juju, because there are a couple of things that we need to get to before we close out shop here. But Juju is opening when?
We believe it'll be open the third week of June.
Oh, and Juju is a taqueria. Is that what we're calling it?
A cantina.
A cantina. Well, I like that better.
Because it's going to serve tacos. It's going to have authentic Mexican cuisine. A big bar. Well, not a big bar. There's going to be 8 to 10 seats at the bar. And, kick-ass margaritas and just a great feel, a great vibe.
I mean,
where is Juju?
Sound Beach Avenue, 206 Sound Beach Avenue, right where Bank of America used to be on Sound Beach.
A few doors down from the beach, from Siren, thank you, and right next door to Two Sparrows.
Right next door to Two Sparrows.
Which is, if you've never been in there,
great retail shop.
It's a great retail shop, and in the back, the original bank vault is the changing room, like near the bathroom, and it's so cool to see an old school bank vault, and what they did with the space is really beautiful.
And those two girls are so integral to Old Greenwich too. They're such locals and know everybody, and that shop is so well curated.
It really is. Yeah.
Cheryl and Vicky, they're so good at what
I loved. I've been in there once or twice, but I love going in there. And so that's Juju. Now, I know you have a Cinco de Mayo party coming up that I'm going to edit this clip and put it out there ASAP Saturday.
I think you're going to say you're editing because you're about to talk about something.
No, because Cinco de Mayo is on Sunday.
Right.
So what's the Cinco de Mayo party and where?
So kind of a introduction to Juju. There's so much buzz about Juju. So many people can't tell you the number of questions I get every single day.
Well, people have been asking and wanting a good Mexican place, an OG, for countless years. Yeah.
And I'm not one to disparage anybody else what anybody else does, but we don't really have any selections in town of Mexican cuisine.
No.
So the Cinco de Mayo party is kind of like a little coming out party for Juju. What it's going to be at Siren, which is 3 doors over, but it's going to be, we're calling it tapas and tacos.
Cool.
So our Siren menu will be fully available, and then we're also doing a small limited menu of tacos, chips and salsas, chips and guacamoles, all being made by the chef at Juju.
Fun.
So it'll be an introduction, and then drinks and tequila and DJ and just a.
So it's a party.
It's a party.
And is that all day?
3 to 8 p.m.
Great. Okay, and then next up is Mother's Day, which is next Sunday.
Oh Lord.
the time of year that us restaurateurs can't wait to get past as quickly as possible.
Wait, why? Can we?
Well, you go from literally one of the quietest months in the year, April, when it's spring break and nobody's around, and you're kind of lulled into this fall sense of like sleepiness, and then bang, 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 the month of May comes around, and every weekend there's an event or there's something going on.
So Mother's Day symbolizes the start of that.
The start of summer.
Yeah.
May is, and it's ironic to me as a mother and a woman that May has Mother's Day in this month, because this month is so intense for moms. School is coming to a close.
Right.
Sports are coming to a close. There's more calendar juggling. There's more juggling of everything. And I'm a working mom, so it's like fiery balls that you're juggling.
Right.
And then you throw Mother's Day right in the middle of it.
Right.
Like, all I want to do personally is be alone. And I know I said this, but I love my family. But I can't imagine how crazy Mother's Day is for the
pretty
restaurant
crazy.
business.
But you know what's also crazy to me is how quickly people are done with their meals.
Really?
Oh my God!
I wonder why.
In and out. People are just in and out on Mother's Day. We'll be totally booked.
I'm not going to take the bait on that, but yeah.
Well, you still have sports. I mean, I coach kids lacrosse right now. We have game on Mother's Day.
Don't take the bait, because that could really lead.
And Mother's Day is
Don't
nothing
don't
but just
take-
smile,
Well,
be happy.
listen, we
Right.
just
Keep
did
going,
an interview.
whatever
We
you
just
want,
did an
dear.
interview with Kim Athen, who's an Old Greenwich resident.
I love Kim.
Yeah, she's the best. She really is the best. And what they're doing with the Mother's Day movement, shift your gift. Like, it's not about spending on all these lavish things for any given mother. It's like there are too many people all over the world that need those funds. So I love the work that they're doing. Going out to lunch, though, is a nice thing for mom or dinner. So what does that look like for you guys? How do you prepare for the onslaught?
It takes a lot of preparation. I mean, the menus were decided on like 2 months ago what we're going to offer. We try to do a prefix because with the volume and the speed with which things move, there's no way we could offer our whole menu.
So if you typically do, let's say, 2 turnovers in a night, meaning people have a sit down and then they leave and then another group of people,
Right.
how many are on Mother's Day, would you say?
Each table probably give, and in a short span, right? Think about it. We open for brunch at 11:30, and we close at 2:30. So in that short span, each table gets flipped around 3 times.
Wow.
That's how quickly people move. You know what's another weird one?
That's wild.
These are all insides in the restaurant business that you guys are
I
getting.
don't think I would even think of that.
Valentine's Day is another one that, like, literally, we always, my partner and I always look at each other on Valentine's Day. We could have totally overbooked this.
Yeah.
Because I try not to overbook it, but then he always says we could have totally overbooked it because, like, when that first seating comes around and goes, and they go so fast that restaurant looks virtually empty until the second seating starts walking in.
See, I'm thinking of the consumer. Why do they want to end? And I can understand why Valentine's wants to end early and get out
Awkward
of there.
first date.
Or they want to be somewhere
What's
else
going
right
on
after.
Valentine's
First
Day?
of all, taking
Or they wanna
somebody
be
out
somewhere
on a
else right
first
after
date
dinner.
on-
Right.
That's suicide, taking somebody out on a date on
Ah,
Valentine's First date on
God.
Valentine's Day?
My husband is not a Hallmark holiday fan.
I'm not either.
We do not do Valentine's Day. I mean, I love you every day.
Right.
He's just not a fan of Hallmark holidays, as he calls them, which I respect. But I like flowers. But you
Well,
know,
above Mother's Day, Cinco de Mayo, what is more important that comes right before it? Tomorrow.
Star Wars Day,
May the 4th be with you.
obviously. Obviously, Star Wars Day. Now, there was footage
Is that
of.
really a thing?
Oh yeah.
There's a whole
No.
backstory to this one.
Yeah.
Lindsay should talk
Well,
about
at May 4th, May the 4th be with
Yeah,
you, has
yeah.
I guess was created. I actually don't know. Was created by Star
You're
Wars.
the one
fans.
that's run with this, by the way.
My friend Jess, who runs the account in Greenwich, and she's a marketer that also grew up here, has been for the past however many years. She loves dressing up and for every holiday, and gone around town on May 4th in Star Wars regalia and done ridiculous things. So she asked me to participate last year because I also do content creation. And last year we went to the Avenue. We got the cops involved. I was dressed up as a stormtrooper. She was Darth Vader. We got they chased us down the Avenue. We got arrested. We had the Death Star. I mean, it was hilarious. This year we went to the beach, so footage will come out tomorrow. And there was footage that she had put up on Instagram of me rolling the Death Star, which is like a giant inflatable Death Star. rolling it down the beach.
That
And
is so good.
Awesome.
we had the best time. But people
Do you have
are,
to be convinced to do the stuff? Are you readily available?
no,
to
I'm
the mad thing?
I'm so in, and I needed a brain break, and I knew it was just an hour, and I met her at the beach, and we had the
I'm
best
trying
time.
to get into this.
I mean,
this is-
we had people coming up to us like, "Hey, do you need extras? Do you want help? Like, we'll dress up."
See, you couldn't pay me $1 million to do that.
Oh, I loved it. It was so fun.
I can't do that kind of stuff. I just can't go buck wild. Like, that's buck wild.
I'm in process trying to
Especially in
procure the
Greenwich.
Death Star actually right
You-
now.
the looks I get, I'm like, what's up? But so footage will come out tomorrow, and we shot a lot of good stuff. But people were asking me, "Oh, is that a new workout you're doing, rolling the Death Star?" I was like, "Yeah."
No way.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's a new workout. It's so many friends.
It takes
Now,
such self-confidence in that to be able to do that kind of stuff.
I
And
mean,
also
that's
not
one
giving
way
a-
to say
not
it.
giving a shit.
I do not.
That's the
give a
beauty of
shit.
getting old.
Right.
I mean, it's the fewer
I kind
shits
of
get.
love. I'd love to know. I mean, I actually wouldn't love to know, but people's opinions of me don't really matter to me
Have you always
because
been that way, or is it something as you've gotten older?
no.
Do you care what people say and think about you?
I'd like to say I don't, but I do. Absolutely.
I mean,
as I get older, I think I age out of that, and I feel better that I don't as much.
I think to a point, at the end of the day, no one really knows you and what's going on in your life. They see what's on social media,
Right.
and that's not really who I am. I mean, I also have a lot going on in my life at all times. So I love that people. I mean, I usually get good positive feedback, but at the end of the day, I can't care because
Right.
I have to put myself out there for my work.
Right.
I have to put myself out there, and it is like running down the street naked, putting yourself out there on social media. And I say that to every client I work with. I'm now doing some coaching, like life coaching, and I say that to all of my clients in life coaching, like putting yourself out there, whether you're putting yourself out there on a dating app, putting yourself out there as a business owner, you are running down the street naked. It's uncomfortable, but you can't care about what other people think.
Right.
You have to be confident, back to having an ego. Be confident and humble at the same time in what you're putting into the world because it's helping people and making people feel good. And that's what I care about in the work that I do. That's what you care about in the work that you
comes
do.
to me in when a chef presents a plate to me for a new menu that we're doing. I swear to God, this is how my thought process works. I'm not thinking about the 500 people that might come to the restaurant this weekend. I'm not thinking about what they're going to think about it because everybody's taste is so different. I'm thinking about whether I like it or not.
Right.
And if I like it and I'm satisfied with that, what I'm presenting, what's going on that plate, and what we're charging for it, then it goes on the menu.
Right.
I cannot think in terms of can I make 500 people happy?
Well, I was just about to say, you cannot please everyone. Same with the real estate business.
Exact same.
You just, most businesses, you can't please everyone. So you have to
And not to super dork up, but Maya Angelou had a great quote that was like, nobody's going to care what you said, but they're going to care how you made them feel.
Right.
And to bring this plane back to the restaurant, I don't actually remember what I ate at a lot of the restaurants, but I remember the feeling. Right. Was it energized? Was it quiet? Was it whatever? And then I pick associated, but it's...
Which is why I always say restaurant dining is so different than eating, right? I mean, eating lunch is eating lunch. You grab a sandwich, you can sit in your car and eat it. Dining when you're having lunch is a whole different experience. You're sitting down with a friend. You've made a choice to meet somebody that day. You've made a choice to give up 2 hours of your life to join and spend it with someone.
to connect.
That's such a personal experience, and for that, it has to matter. You chose going to the Penguin for lunch for a reason. You like sitting at a particular table for a reason.
Yeah.
These are personal choices. These aren't random. And that's the data I collect. It's I feel like life is just nothing but a series of data collection for ourselves, and then we make choices based on what we create to be our likes and our dislikes. And people do that with all the time. It's like, this is where I want to eat because I loved the way I felt when I left.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm referring to. Is that I had certain feelings leaving your restaurants, which then when I want that feeling back, I go back.
Right.
And it sounds whatever, but
it's everybody, and I think every restaurant offers that. If you walk into Moley on the Avenue, you get a different feeling than you get when you walk into mine. So and that's what I love about that. There's so many restaurants in town. So much choice.
So many good restaurants too. Right.
Diversity, it makes you want to go out. Like, you want to go out and try what these people are doing.
Right. Consistency is key. We have talked about that.
Consistency of what you like. And, you've improved upon a lot of little things, but then I go to certain restaurants for certain feelings and certain times.
Right.
And, being comfortable, do you care what other people think? I can't wait to go to actually Fat Poodle by myself and sit there. Do a little work, do a little reading, but have a really nice lunch, really quiet.
Right. There is a little bar at Poodle, right?
No, just the high top tables.
The high tops.
The high tops. You can go there. I mean, you can sit at those high tops for lunch and
Right.
your computer and work.
Oh, that's nice to know.
And there's a big bar at Siren as well, and people do that all the time.
Yeah. I know
yes,
the bar at Siren is great.
But having a nice lunch by yourself, like an actual, it's
Right, and I do love how you
are the
morphed
worst.
that bar at Siren, because it used to be so tight
Right.
around the bar to stand and socialize, and now there's so much more space.
Well, when you walked into that space, I mean, you've been there, like you said, hundreds of times probably.
Yeah.
You went to the beach house, right?
Probably.
And the two rooms felt like they're two completely different
Yes.
operations, and nobody wanted to sit in the right side room.
Right.
Or you didn't want to walk to the bar because you felt cramped.
Now it's a big open
And I wanted
flow.
it to feel that way. Like, literally, I wanted it to feel like you got off on an island in Greece and the wind is blowing in your hair.
Yeah, it does. It does. And Lynn Morgan did
Morgan's
a beautiful
that design,
job.
yeah.
The decor is.
She's out of Ruwait and Lynn Morgan Design. She does fantastic work.
Yeah, she really did. And
So-
she's doing Juju with you
She's doing
too.
Juju, and she's doing Siren in Portchester.
Okay.
She's done all the restaurants to this point. She did Westport as well.
Well, and I think working together and really getting to know your vision and her vision, and that it's collaborative and good. I
Everybody
can't
has
wait.
styles, right? But she and I think I have a style and she has a style, but we have an understanding of, okay, he has a vision about it, so now let's see how we can make that vision
Right.
fit her style as well. Because,
Right.
I mean, you know, she's not just,
Executing what you want.
right, she's
Yeah.
coming to the table with, like...
Well, she's an expert in design.
Right.
You're an
Yeah.
expert in, hospitality.
and I haven't been to Westport, but does it have a similar
It's
feel?
closed. You can't go there anymore.
Okay. When
Why would you go there?
Yeah, there
It's
we go.
closed.
We have
We're
everything we
talking
need
about
here.
Greenwich, building Greenwich. This is not
I love it.
I'm going to cut that part out.
It's
No,
not building
keep it. but
Westport.
Well, I mean, Greenwich is a destination.
Well, we're talking about
People
Portchester,
from
which is part of
Greenwich
Greenwich.
don't necessarily go to Westport.
I think Portchester is a part of Greenwich. There are people that live in
is.
backcountry Greenwich that would rather go to Portchester than drive to Greenwich Avenue.
Oh, and there are benefits of Port. I mean, Sam's, everything. But
I mean, I was in
it's a part
Portchester
of Greenwich.
yesterday.
And so is Westport. But Westport's had a lot of restaurants that have duplicated there.
Westport
And
also takes an hour to drive.
It's a trip.
4:30 or 5 in the afternoon if you want to get to a 6.
a lot longer today.
A lot longer.
I mean, let
Yeah, the
us
fire.
not get on 95
Oh my
at
gosh.
any point in the foreseeable future.
Can't get on 95 for the next few days.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I know.
Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. I love learning all about all these restaurants. I can't wait for Juju to open and for us to go and check out Siren again, because I haven't
Have you
been in a little while.
Both of you? Have you been to Siren?
Yeah, I have.
You have?
Yes.
You've been to,
Yes.
right? You've
The
been
whole time I'm thinking Portchester. The whole time I'm thinking Portchester.
No,
Sure,
no.
sometime in June of 2025. And I appreciate you having me here today. Thank you very
No,
much
thank you for coming.
inviting me to your
Thank
show.
you, and have a great
de
Cinco de Mayo party. I might stop by for that, and of course Mother's Day. Good luck with
Where are you
the
going for
Mother's
Mother's
Day.
Day?
Seth actually got us tickets. One of his old students produced this new show in the city, Broadway, and it's called Stereophonic, and it has been nominated for 13 Tony Awards, the most Tony Awards that any show has ever been nominated for, and it just came out last week, 2 weeks ago. So he got us tickets, which is
That's your
awesome.
husband?
Yeah.
Kudos to him for not doing the typical, let's take you out to brunch. And
No, he's not I mean, no offense to the restaurant industry. He's just not, that's not his vibe. So, and we love seeing theater and seeing music. So I can't wait to see this show. And our friend Emma, who produced it, was a student of his 15 years. Actually, when we met, she was a senior. And now to see her as this big Broadway producer is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Stereophonic. Highly recommend.
That's awesome.
I know.
I'll let you guys know about the Juju opening date, but I think it's going to be right around June 19th.
Oh, that's
That's
so
the
soon.
date that we're shooting for. Yeah, 7 weeks.
Oh, my God.
Well, and get it in there before, July stuff and everyone, Todd's point.
Right, and I also, I mean, we're going to try to keep the restaurant on Saturday and Sundays. We'll keep the restaurant open all day to capture the attention of the beachgoers
Yeah.
and do some promotion.
And that's Old Greenwich. I mean, we talk about the difference between Old Greenwich and downtown Greenwich.
Right.
I mean, that's where I love going to Old Greenwich for the beach experience.
Right, and it really is such a great experience in Old Greenwich. I love
It's just, it's a lot more laid back than downtown Greenwich, and it's in the same town,
Right.
which
Yeah.
we're so lucky in that respect.
Right.
It's a lot more casual, which I prefer personally. I mean, I love the Avenue, but I just like a more laid back vibe.
You know that people that live in Greenwich don't like to go to Old Greenwich.
Yes, I do know that.
You know that very
Yeah,
well.
because
that's
it's
true.
like
Some people.
Because it's
Some
too far
people.
for people.
It's too far.
They
Yeah.
literally
Depends
say-
where you are.
Yeah.
That's why we get the map.
there are people that don't.
I mean,
leave.
I grew up here. From here to Todd's Point, yeah, that could take you a haul.
It's far.
It's a haul.
It takes
It's a haul,
Right.
right? It's not that they are against it. It's just
It's work.
It's work, right?
It's work, and there's so many people that go to Le Penguin that literally live in town that walk there 3 times a week to have dinner.
Right. Well, and now we have Poisson. What's the new restaurant that took over Cremaille space? Backcountry.
I remember the name. I don't remember the
It's
name.
From Lier.
Right, but it's Poisson or something that just opened way backcountry in Banksville, basically.
It
is
is,
Banksville.
actually. It's across the park.
And it's like Pulpo's a destination.
Right.
And Pulpo's a standalone.
Right.
You know, that's a destination for people.
It
But
totally
people
is.
from Old Greenwich aren't necessarily running to Pulpo on a Tuesday night.
You got Valbella if you want to. You know.
Right, that too.
And people from Old Greenwich aren't running to Greenwich.
No,
They're just not.
No.
The kids, though, the kids bring you everywhere.
That's the thing.
they do, but like when I'm making plans with my friends to go out to dinner, with my Old Greenwich friends, we flip flop. Like, okay, we're going to go to Poodle this time, and then next
Yeah,
time
but
you
you're in
guys are coming to
Riverside,
the
are you
Avenue. What?
You're in Riverside.
No, I'm in downtown Greenwich.
Oh, okay. So I thought you were in Riverside because
No.
then you're right in the middle. You can go either way.
Yeah, well,
I'm
downtown
Cobbs.
for
I'm
me,
like, truly,
you're
I'm right in the middle.
right for me, downtown Greenwich is the middle because I also go to Glenville, and but I like going everywhere. People,
Downtown, it all centers
Have you
around.
had that $25 pastrami sandwich from Costco?
Ashley had it.
No.
She said
I
she
heard
said
it's phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. It's like worth every. It's like Katz's.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
I've seen photos of it. I haven't had it.
It's $25, but it's supposed to be the best $25 you'll spend on a sandwich.
truly.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike. There
goes my lunch.
Thing. Mike from
We should.
Tell Him Mike sent you. He's
Yeah.
a broker. But he and Ashley used to work with me, who's the Greenwich foodie, and they went there to shoot once because they kept hearing about it from everyone, and they're very committed to the Jewish culture and like how they're preparing the food. And she said it was another level of like, when do you really go get a pastrami sandwich?
Right.
You
Never.
know, like Katz's Deli down
Yeah.
outside. I mean, I've actually been there a number of times in my life.
Should we close up since we're
Yeah. Yeah, you
Thank
can
you
shut it
for
down.
coming.
Yeah.
We can just keep going on talking
I
about
mean,
pastrami.
we
Bye.
could. Well, like.